I stood in the airy lobby of my boutique hotel, the Heathbrook, staring at the email that could turn my world upside down. My hands trembled so violently I almost dropped my phone. Dear M. Alexander Bennett, on behalf of the British royal family, we are interested in reserving your entire property for a month-long stay. I sank into a nearby chair, trying to steady my racing thoughts. Meanwhile, across town, my brother James was probably putting the finishing touches on his presentation for our family reunion, the very event my parents insisted be held at his luxurious Grand Bennett Hotel, not at my charming little inn. I'm Alex Bennett, and here's how my family's obsession with status ended up spectacularly backfiring. 2 weeks earlier, I had sat at my parents' dining table, enduring their endless praise of James' latest addition to the Grand Bennett, 30 floors of opulent indulgence. My mother waved her wine glass, practically glowing. James knows exactly what discerning travelers want. I held back a sigh. The Grand Bennett was typical James, flashy, overpriced, and impersonal. Chrome, glass, and rooms that all blended together in a sterile sameness. The reunion has to be there, my father said, decisively. 300 relatives flying in from everywhere. We need to showcase the Bennett Hotel empire at its finest. I cleared my throat. The Heathbrook could accommodate everyone. We have enough rooms, and our chef. Oh, darling, my mother interrupted, that familiar condescending smile in place. Your boutique place is lovely, but this is a major family event. We need something grander. It is grand, I insisted. 25 individually designed suites, a Michelin-starred restaurant, and 25 rooms. James strolled in, late as always, smirking. That's not a hotel. That's a big house. The Grand Bennett has 300 rooms. That's what a real hotel looks like. I gripped my glass of water, suppressing my irritation. What they didn't know, what none of them had bothered to see, was that my little property had just been named one of England's top 10 boutique hotels by Travel Plus Leisure. The Heathbrook wasn't just a hotel, it was my vision of hospitality brought to life. I'd purchased the historic manor 3 years earlier when everyone warned me I was foolish to leave the family business. James had even bet Dad that I'd fail within 6 months. Instead, I turned the 200-year-old estate into something extraordinary. Each suite told its own story, merging historic charm with contemporary luxury. Our restaurant didn't simply serve meals, it crafted experiences. Our gardens weren't just for show, they supplied our kitchen with fresh, vibrant ingredients. But to my family, success only mattered if it came with a giant logo and a towering building. We've already decided, my father said firmly. The reunion will be at the Grand Bennett. James has taken care of everything. I stood up, tired of arguing. Fine. Let me know which dates to block. James grinned, cruelly. Actually, maybe keep your rooms open. You know, for relatives who can't afford our rates. I didn't reply, simply walked away. They would never understand why I struck out on my own. To them, hotels were numbers and spreadsheets. To me, they were stories, experiences, and memories waiting to be made. Back at the Heathbrook, I buried myself in work, training a new chef, tending to the gardens, juggling 1,000 little details in preparation for our busiest season. And then the first hint of something extraordinary appeared. Miss Bennett, my front desk manager, Sophie, called. There's a gentleman here asking very detailed questions about security features and private entrances. Says it's a preliminary site inspection. I looked up to see a man, perfectly groomed, his suit immaculate, scanning the lobby with meticulous precision. Good morning, I said, approaching. I'm Alexander Bennett, the owner. How can I help you? He turned, studying me with sharp, practiced focus. Richard Morton, Royal Protection Group. We're evaluating properties for an extended stay. Your hotel came highly recommended. My heart skipped a beat. The Royal Protection Group handled protection for the British royal family. Of course, I said, trying to sound calm even though my heart was hammering. Would you like a tour? The next 2 hours felt unreal. Mr. Morton inspected every corner, our security systems, kitchens, staff quarters, and emergency plans. He seemed especially intrigued by the private gardens and the separate entrance that had once served as the manor's carriage house. Very promising, he muttered, jotting notes. The size is ideal, big enough for the whole party, small enough to secure, and the privacy, he gestured toward the walled gardens. Excellent. He left with a thick folder of documents, and I tried not to let myself get carried away. 2 days later, another team arrived, scrutinizing every suite, testing communications, and interviewing my key staff members. Then came the email. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The royal family wanted to reserve the entire hotel, every single suite, the restaurant, the gardens, for a full month. My phone buzzed. It was James. Hey, sis, about the family reunion, we're thinking of putting all the second cousins in our budget wing. You know, the ones from Ohio who probably wouldn't appreciate the fancy rooms anyway. I glanced at the royal booking email and couldn't help but smile. Actually, James, I said, I won't be able to help with the overflow. We're fully booked that month. All 25 rooms, he laughed incredulously. Did you get a tour group or something? Something like that, I replied smoothly. Good luck with the reunion. I hung up and took in the Heathbrook lobby, elegant, historic, perfectly proportioned. Soon, it would host royalty. For now, though, there was work to be done. James's texts kept coming, each more sarcastic than the last. A full booking? Did you miscount? Must be nice managing so few rooms. Dad says you're just avoiding helping with the reunion. I ignored them. Let him stew. Sometimes the sweetest victory is patience, and the payoff was right around the corner. Then, on a Tuesday morning, the news broke. British royal family chooses historic Heathbrook Hotel for month-long summer stay. My phone lit up, journalists requesting interviews, colleagues congratulating me, and, of course, my family's flurry of incredulous messages. James called first, disbelief lacing his voice. This has to be a joke. No joke, I said, calm as ever, watching my staff ready the hotel for the final security check. The royal family will be at the Heathbrook for the entire month of July. But, that's when the family reunion is planned. I let a slow smile spread across my face. Oh dear, I said, not even bothering to hide my satisfaction. How unfortunate. 20 minutes later, my parents arrived, still dressed for their Tuesday tennis match. They looked around the lobby as if seeing it for the first time. Alexandra, my father said, using my full name as he always did when trying to assert authority, why didn't you tell us about this? Like you told me to pick James's hotel for the reunion? I shot back. Besides, I was under strict confidentiality. My mother ran her finger over a gleaming mahogany table. But surely they visited the Grand Bennett too? James' hotel is so modern. I grinned. Actually, they requested the Heathbrook. Something about historic charm and discretion. James stormed through the door, waving his phone like a flag. This is insane. I've already booked 300 rooms for the reunion, planned menus, now you've got 300 empty rooms. I calmly finished his sentence. Maybe you could fill them with bus tours. He flushed crimson as his own words hit him. You did this on purpose. Did what? Run my little boutique hotel so well that it attracts the most prestigious clients in the country. Yes, I admitted, smiling. Exactly that. And the family reunion? My mother demanded. We can't cancel it now. I sank into the antique reception chair, savoring the moment just a little too much. Well. You have 2 choices, I said, letting the words linger. Either reschedule your reunion, or hold it at the Grand Bennett. Meanwhile, I added with a small, deliberate pause, I'll be here hosting the royal family. The stunned silence was delicious. Richard Morton arrived at that exact moment with his final security team. He gave me a crisp nod. Miss Bennet, we're ready for the last walkthrough. And Her Royal Highness asked me to personally commend you for your discretion. She was very impressed that the booking remained completely confidential until the official announcement. My family stood frozen, jaws slack, as I walked away with the royal security detail. Watching them through the lobby's security cameras, I saw the shock slowly evolve into dawning comprehension. The following weeks were a whirlwind of preparations. James struggled to explain to relatives why the reunion had to be postponed, while I oversaw every aspect of the royal visit. My staff rose to the occasion, exceeding even their usual high standards. Finally, the day arrived. I stood with the team as the royal motorcade pulled into our private entrance. The next hours were a blur, flawless service, perfectly timed touches, and every detail executed with precision. That evening, a personal note from Her Royal Highness arrived, expressing her gratitude for the hotel's charm, impeccable service, and attention to every detail. I snapped a photo of the note and sent it to the family group chat, previously unusually quiet. Replies poured in. Mom, darling, we may have underestimated your vision. Dad, very impressive, Alexandra. James, whatever. It was only one booking, but it was far more than that. The royal stay catapulted the Heathbrook onto the world stage of luxury hospitality. Suddenly, our 25 rooms were among the most coveted accommodations in England, with waiting lists stretching months ahead. Meanwhile, James Grand Bennett struggled with the fallout from the cancelled reunion. Several relatives refused to rebook there, insisting instead on being added to the Heathbrooks list. A month later, I sat in my office reviewing the latest press coverage. Forbes had just named the Heathbrook Europe's top boutique hotel. Travel Plus Leisure ran a feature on our farm-to-table dining, and NAS Traveller hailed us as the crown jewel of British hospitality. My phone buzzed. It was James. Listen, he said, unusually humble, occupancy is down at the Grand Bennett, and, well, maybe we could talk about a collaboration. Your expertise with our resources. I looked out over the gardens where the royal family had enjoyed afternoon tea just weeks before. Sorry, James, I said. The Heathbrook isn't looking for collaborations. We're busy with our waiting list. But I hear there are some lovely bus tours needing accommodations. After hanging up, I walked through my hotel, 25 perfectly curated rooms, every suite full, every guest delighted, every staff member proud to be part of something extraordinary. My parents no longer tried to coax me back into the family business. James had stopped mocking my little inn. And the reunion? They'd rescheduled it at the Heathbrook, but we were fully booked for the next 2 years. Sometimes success isn't about scale or flash. It's about crafting something genuine and unique, something even royalty recognizes. And sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply letting your excellence speak for itself. That evening, as I welcomed a famous film director who had waited months for a reservation, a final text from James arrived. Okay, I admit it. You won. I smiled, thinking of the royal family's confirmed booking next summer, the waiting list of dignitaries and celebrities, and the thriving empire I'd built with just 25 suites. No, James, I typed back. I didn't win. I created something better. Sometimes the smallest places make the biggest statement, and a tiny boutique hotel can outshine the grandest luxury property, especially when it comes with a royal seal of approval.